experiences. Some tergiversated. And it's all different levels. We all have some fear. Maybe a fear of public speaking. Maybe a fear of a relationship ending, a relationship moving forward. But have you ever experienced the curl up in a ball shaking, puke in the bushes, to the soul type of fear? This happened one time in my life. It was 1995. I was working on a contract we had in Indonesia. Now, Indonesia is made up of 14,000 islands, and it's a very diverse, very, very, very spread out culture. The adventure on how to get to where we were at was outside of a little town called Fakfak. Okay. Fakfak is on in the most farthest east province of Indonesia. It's on Irian Jaya, which is half the island is Papua New Guinea, the other half of the island is Indonesia. To get there, you fly into Jakarta, and it's usually a stage of 6 to 8 flights to get down there. And each flight, you end up landing in a smaller airport, changing to a smaller airplane, changing to a more remote and more primitive form of transportation. One part we landed on an island that was called Jeffman Island. This landing strip was the island. It was built during World War II or previous to World War II. When the jet came in and landed, we were coming over the water, and as soon as I saw asphalt, the wheels hit the ground, and we turned around and the wings swung over the water on the other end. From there, it was an hour and a half boat ride in what they call a long boat, which was effectively a 30-foot long dugout canoe, to the other town called Sarong. From there, we got on this thing that looked like a flying milk carton. And we flew to Fakfak, and then from Fakfak, it was about an hour and a half drive through these mountainous roads to a trailhead, where it was about an hour and a half hike across a swamp to our staging camp on this boardwalk that they had hacked out of the jungle. From that point, it was about another hour helicopter ride up to the rig site. You were so far out there that you turn around and take a step in any direction, you're heading back. This is areas where there are cannibals still. You saw the guys come out of the jungle wearing basically a penis sheath with their spears and their bows and arrows. There's Komodo dragons. There's more stuff out there that'll eat you and kill you than you normally deal with. But this is the setting I was in. We had the drill rig that came in on a ship. It was a small container ship. What I mean by small, it was like 200 containers. So compared to the ones you see in the news, this was a pretty small ship. So they bring it into this harbor that we have. And then they bring these ocean-going barges up, and we had to offload all the equipment onto the barge and then take it up the channel so that we could fly it from there up the rig site. These ocean-going barges are roughly the size of a quarter of a football field. So they're pretty good sized barges. But they're moving these around with these dugout canoes too, these longboats. So here we are, we've got new stuff, we got old stuff, we got current stuff, we got primitive stuff, and we're going along, and our objective is to do this job. As I say, we are in the harbor. This is an ocean-going vessel, this is an ocean-going barge. But the harbor was it wasn't a true harbor, it was more like a cove. So, but it was open to the rest, to the open part of the ocean. So that storms would come in, and we'd get this action going on with the ship and the barge. Most of the time we dealt with on a daily basis, it would be about 6 to 8 foot swells. So your barge would be going 6 feet up and down, different than the ship. So we're craning things off onto this barge. As it's moving around, it's bumping into the ship. They got fenders on there, so they're controlling it. So this is still part of the setting for the action. We have a storm that comes in. We've got, at this point, we are finishing loading the barge, and we're seeing 30-foot swells. Needless to say, the captain's getting his ship beat up. He cuts the barge loose, the long lines it out behind the ship. So we've got 300-foot line, one rope, tied onto this barge, and we're out behind the ship. Okay, it doesn't seem so bad because it's not moving with the ship, but it's still, we're watching the ship go up and disappear, go back. And it's starting to get dark, and it's starting to rain, and it's really blowing. And we think, okay, our staging camp's right over there. Two-way radio that we've got, battery starting to go dead. So here we are tied onto this barge, about 300 feet away from the ship, roughly a quarter the size of a football field, in a stormy sea. Finally, a guy shows up, and he's in a rowboat, so to speak. A little 12-foot long aluminum craft. There's 6 of us, plus him. He's got nothing on but a pair of underwear. And we think, great, we're going to make it out of here and get into camp, be off this barge. We all load onto this thing. We take off, and as we're going in, we realize the closer you get to shore, and it gets shallower, those 30-foot swells turn into very, very big waves. So we're coming in, the swells are getting bigger, they're starting to break. We see an ocean-going tug, which from the water to the peak is about 60 feet. It goes down the swell, we go up, we go down the swell, this thing disappears. But as you get closer to shore, like I said, you've got waves. So we are coming off these waves. We are in a curl. We are shooting the tube in the roll. You realize that you're in trouble, but you're busy. You're just, everything's going on. Everybody's got their boots peeled off. I've got my coveralls off my shoulders. Everybody's in the same condition. We're getting ready to go swimming. We finally make it around, make it into shore, and get off the boat, and we think, great, we got through this. It wasn't until after, when I'm sitting on shore, I'm looking back out, I'm seeing these Hawaii 5-0 breakers coming in. And I see the barge that we were on break loose from the ship and head up the coast. I see the ocean-going tug that was out there get drugged by its anchor, roughly a quarter mile. These are big anchors. And I realize I am in the middle of nowhere. My wife and family, to communicate with them is generally a day-long process. And I see the event that could have very much changed and shaped my life. And it all hits me. And the impact and the fear and just the want to curl up and shake and realize that I could have been there all by myself. Nobody come get us. And that's when it hit me, that I am never going rowboat surfing again.